This lecture video is still about analytic geometry, but now we're going to look into important concepts regarding points. The distance between 2 points. Probably, a lot of us are familiar with that distance formula, pero ipakita natin kung saan nanggaling yon. Now, first, although lahat ng distances between 2 points can be found by that formula, you can actually have an easier way if we want to find the distances between horizontal and vertical points. First, if we're going to check points A and B, we can see that they are horizontal because they do share the same ordinate, which is y sub 1. Yeah. Now, what happens here is that if we want to find the distance between 2 points, kung maaalala nyo before, ang ginagawa natin if we want to find distance between two numbers on the number line, nagbibilang tayo ng paganto. We do count something like that. Kung hindi ganyan yung itsura niyan. And what happens is that from here to here, nasusubtract tayo. Kasi the idea would be, if ito yung haba ng A, this black, and ito yung haba ng B, this blue here, so ang gagawin natin, dahil ang hinahanap mo lang naman technically ay ito, ang hinahanap lang naman natin ay ito, so you would have to remove this one here, which is technically the distance from B. Ito yan, tatanggalin mo yan, ang from A. Para ang matira, edi itong part lang na to. Therefore, what we can see here is that for us to find the distance, purihin ko lang ito. For us to be able to find the distance between two horizontal points, we would have to subtract their abscissas. Hence, the distance between A and B would be x sub 1 minus x sub 2, provided that x sub 1 is bigger than x sub 2. Kasi nga, itong x sub 1 represents that distance here, while x sub 2 represents that distance here. Na kapag tinanggal natin to, ito lang yung matitira, which is the distance that we need. At ito, tinanggal, so that is subtraction. Now, the same concept is applied when we have vertically aligned points. Kung makikita natin dito, we can see that points B and C are vertically aligned because they have the same abscissa. They only have different ordinates. Now, just like what we had a while ago, it's the same process and the same idea. Kasi if we're going to think about it, yung y sub 1, vertically, yung B ay nasa ganitong pwesto. Uulitin ko lang ulit. Nasa ganitong pwesto. Yan. While C, itong kulay blue na ito lang yon. If we want to find out this length, tatanggalin natin tong blue part na to. At pag tinanggal, that is subtraction. And since it's just vertical, na magkaiba yung ordinate ang magkaiba, parehas sa abscissa, yung ordinate is subtract natin. Hence, we're going to have the distance between vertically aligned points would be y sub 1 minus y sub 2, provided y sub 1 is bigger than y sub 2. So, halos parehas lang din. Ito lang sa horizontal, ang sinubtract mo yung abscissa, yung magkaiba. Sa ordinate, sa vertically aligned, rather, ang sinubtract mo ay yung ordinate. Now, puntahan na natin yung alam nating formula. As you can see, if we have a horizontally aligned or horizontal line segment here and a vertical line segment here, it will be a right angle. Hence, this figure is actually a right triangle. And for us to find the length of this, which is technically the hypotenuse of the right triangle, we use the Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem states that, just aligning it here, ito yung side A, ito yung side B, ito yung side C. So, by the Pythagorean theorem that we know, it's A squared plus B squared equals C squared. But we know the distance of A is this. So, I'm going to replace A with y sub 1 minus y sub 2 squared. And the distance of B is actually ito. Therefore, I'm going to replace B with x sub 1 minus x sub 2 squared. and that is equal to c squared. And for us to find the value of c, all we need to do is take the square root of both sides of the equation. Since this is distance, not directed distance, the sign doesn't matter, so it will always just be positive. Therefore, c is now the distance formula that we know. The square root of y sub 1 minus y sub 2 squared plus x sub 1 minus x sub 2 squared. This is now the distance formula that we know. The distance formula, the distance between 2 points. Now, yung iba, ang alam, y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared over x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared. Okay lang yon. Malamang sa malamang, nung yun ang tinuro sa inyo, yung y sub 2 at yung x sub 2 ang mas malaking values ng x and y respectively. Dito kasi, in-illustrate natin na mas malaki si x sub 1 at mas malaki si x sub 1 compared kay x sub 2, mas malaki si y sub 1 compared kay y sub 2. So, dyan nang galing ang distance formula. Now, although it might be a good practice to just start off finding the distance between 2 points, let's already apply it in analyzing geometric situations or geometric problems. Like, we're given 3 points which serve as vertices of a triangle. 1, we're asked to find the perimeter of each triangle and determine the kind of triangle according to sides and angles. So, let's first start off with number 1 here. Dito natin siya gawin sa gilid siguro. Yan. So, in number 1, we're given with points A at 0, 0, B at 5, negative 2, and at C at negative 3, D. So, ang pinapahanap sa atin ay perimeter and determine the kind of triangle according to sides and angles. So, perimeter muna. We know that the perimeter of a triangle is simply we add the lengths of the sides of a triangle. So, therefore, kailangan natin hanapin ano yung length ng sides ng triangle natin. So, if we're going to roughly draw or sketch this in a Cartesian plane, para lang alam natin yung ano, ayan. So, 0, 0 is here. So, that's A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is B. 5, negative 2. And C is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Eto. That's negative 3, 3. So, if we're going to connect these points here, ano ko pa nalalagyan ng C? Ayan. Then, let's connect this one here also. Ayan. And then, we'll connect, ayan. Medyo ano lang, but yeah, that's still a triangle. Malaki lang itong angle na ito. Hindi naman yun ang concern natin. Ang concern natin is for us to be able to find the length and the type of triangle and the perimeter. So, first, it looks like this is side A, this is side B, and this is side C. Although, hindi naman kailangan talagang i-label which is which. You just need to find the distance between the points which serve as the vertices of the triangle. So, first, to find side A, which is actually line or segment BC, to find BC, oops, wait, let's fix that. BC, therefore, hindi naman vertically or horizontally aligned kasi magkaiba ang abscissa at ordinates ng B and C. We need to use the distance formula. So, therefore, you can interchange x sub 1 minus x sub 2 and y sub 1, y sub 2. Kahit yung x ang mauna, kahit yung y ang mauna. So, let's first have, well, x. I'm going to have 5 minus negative 3 squared, x sub 1 minus x sub 2, plus y sub 1 minus y sub 2. 3 minus negative 2 squared. Yan. Inaano ko lang na yung mas malaki yung inuuna ko. So, therefore, from here, we're going to have 5 minus negative 3 squared, that's 8 squared, plus 3 minus negative 2, that is 5 squared. And this becomes the square root of 64 plus 25, which would be equal to the square root of 89, if I am not mistaken. There you go, square root of 89. So this is the length of A, square root of 89. Now let's look for the length of the other sides of our triangle. For side B, we're going to have side AC. So therefore, to find the distance between AC na mukhang hindi rin naman vertical or horizontal kasi walang magkapares na abscissa and ordinate. So, this would be now 0 minus negative 3 squared. That's the abscissas. Plus, for the ordinates, 3 minus 0 squared. Therefore, I'm going to have, that's 3 squared plus 3 squared. Okay, so natin isa. So that's 3 squared plus 3 squared, which would be equal to 9 plus 9, which is equal to the square root of 18, which will be 3 square root of 2. Yan. Finally, we have side C, which is actually side AB. And again, kung matitingnan natin ng AB, walang magkapareha, so they're neither horizontal nor vertical. Therefore, we can just use the distance formula. We're going to have 5 minus 0 squared for the abscissas plus 0 minus negative 2 squared for the ordinates. So we're going to have the square root of 5 squared, plus 2 squared here. And this becomes the square root of 25 plus 4, which is equal to the square root of 29. At yan na yung simplest form yan. So, to find the perimeter here, baba lang natin. Yan. To find the perimeter, all we need to do is add this different length. So that's square root of 89 plus square root of 29 plus 3 square root of 2. And by the rules of adding rational expressions, yan na yun. Because square root of 89 is already the simplest. Square root of 29 is already the simplest. Therefore, the perimeter of this triangle is square root of 89 plus square root of 29 plus 3 square root of 2. Now, how about letter B? How do we now determine if the triangle is what type of a triangle according to side or to angle? Before we go solving, kailangan alam mo natin paano to din-determine and ano-ano ba nga ba ulit yung types of sides and types of triangles according to sides and angles. So, if we want to classify triangles, usually we classify it according to types of sides and types of angles. Sa sides muna tayo. A triangle can either be a scalene triangle, or an isosceles triangle. Pag sinabing scalene yung triangle, you don't have any side that have the same measure or no sides that are congruent. Isosceles, you would have at least 2 sides congruent. Pag sinabing congruent sa geometry, they have the same measurement. Ngayon, so pwedeng dalawa, pwedeng 3 sides congruent sa isosceles. I know na may naiisip nyo na meron pang isa. And that other type of triangle according to sides is actually under the isosceles triangle. Because it needs exactly 3 sides congruent. And that is what we call the equilateral, gawin natin capital, equilateral triangle, which is also a type of an isosceles triangle. So, anong connection nito sa distance formula? Ngayon, syempre, pagka-solve mo ng distances, iti-check mo ngayon alin doon ng equal o hindi. Whichever sides have equal measures of length, they are congruent. So, pag walang equal, walang side na congruent. Therefore, scalene. Pag dalawa lang, isosceles. Pag tatlo, you can call it isosceles, you can call it equilateral. Pero pag tatlo, mas okay nang tawagin siyang equilateral. Now, on the other hand, if it comes to angles, dapat medyo familiar tayo dito kasi dinaanan ito sa trigo. If you remember, you can either call a triangle that has a right angle a right triangle, and a triangle that does not have a right triangle an oblique triangle. Ngayon, pag right yung triangle, dito papasok yung Pythagorean theorem na alam natin that the length of the sides a squared plus b squared equals c squared. C is the hypotenuse, which is the longest side. And the two are the two shorter sides. Ngayon, paano sa oblique? Wala namang hypotenuse doon. So, we consider C as the longest side. Now, oblique triangles can be considered as either acute or obtuse. When we say the triangle is acute, puro acute angle lang. When we say the triangle is an obtuse triangle, yung triangle ay may nag-iisang obtuse angle. And the Pythagorean theorem can help us here. At bakit Pythagorean? Kasi distance ang pinag-uusapan dito. A, B, and C are the lengths of the sides of the triangle. So if the triangle is acute, then hindi na siya Pythagorean theorem kasi ang Pythagorean theorem equal. Instead, it becomes A squared plus B squared is greater than C squared. Where again, C is the longest of the three sides. So kapag obtuse, it's A squared plus B squared is less than C squared. Where C again is the longest side. So yun ang makakatulong sa atin to classify a triangle using the length of its sides. Ngayon, balik tayo dito. As we can see, hindi magkakaparehas yung length of sides ng ating triangle ngayon. Therefore, we can classify that since its square root of 89 is not equal to 3 square root of 2, 3 square root of 2, which is also not equal to square root of 29, we can say that side A is not congruent, yun yung symbol na congruent, to side B, which is also not congruent to side C. Therefore, the triangle is said to be scalene. Kasi no sides congruent. Yan. Ngayon, dun tayo sa type of triangle according to angles. Well, the longest side seems to be square root of 89. Yan yung pinakamalaking number. Kasi isa square root of 18 sa square root of 29. So, for us to check whether the triangle is right, acute, or obtuse, we need to follow the Pythagorean theorem. You can assign any. Although, ang nangyari sa atin, yung A ang napunta sa longest side. Na hindi naman sadya. You just need to follow that since this is the longest side, ito yung nasa isang side. So, is square root of 89 squared what compared to 3 square root of 2 squared plus square root of 29 squared? So, we know that the square root of 89 is 89. Ito, 29. Plus, 3 square root of 2 squared ay ito naman yon, so that's 18. So, the question is, what is 18 plus 29 and how is it compared to 89? So, we have 18 plus 29 is 47, which is less than 89. And since ito, yung sum nito ay mas mababa, mas mababa compared sa 89, therefore, the triangle is said to be an obtuse triangle. Na medyo halata naman, ito ay yung angle na nandyan, mas malaki talaga sa 90 degrees. Therefore, the triangle is known to be a scalene, obtuse triangle based from the measure of its sides. Yeah. So, pause this video and try to answer number 2. So, assuming you have tried to answer number 2, eto dito, i-align natin tong board natin. Ayan. Number 2, ayan na lang. So, number 2, I'm going to give the answer here and then just let you check on your own kung tama ba ang mga sagot natin. So in number 2, we have the length of side DE, which you can also write this way, parang absolute value, is actually the square root of 73. The length of line segment EF is square root of 146, while the length of DF would be square root of 73. So the perimeter would be square root of 73 plus square root of 146, yan yung simplest niyan, plus the square root of 73. Now we know we can combine this. Therefore, the perimeter of the triangle number 2 would be 2 square root of 73 plus square root of 146 units. Ngayon, pagdating naman sa type of triangle, according to sides, kung makikita ninyo, square root of 73 is equal to square root of 73. Pero hindi na siya equal sa square root of 146. Ito lang. So therefore, since we have two sides that are equal, therefore the triangle is said to be isosceles. I-formalize lang natin. Itong square root of 73 na isa ay yung DE na congruent sa EF. Pero hindi siya congruent sa EF. So therefore, dalawa lang. Therefore, we say that the triangle is isosceles. Yan. Ngayon, dahil mukhang yung 146 ang pinakamalaki, so we now compare what would be square root of 73 squared plus square root of 73 squared compared to just square root of 146 squared. Again, yung pinaka malaki. And based from this, that would be now 73 plus 73 is compared to 146, which is, makita nyo, equal. That's 146, which is equal to 146. Therefore, the triangle is said to be a right triangle, which means the triangle, in conclusion, is an isosceles right triangle. Yeah. Now, another concept in geometry with that the distance formula, or we can use the distance formula, is determining whether points are collinear or not. Pag sinabing collinear, let's highlight this. Pag sinabing, yeah. When we say 2 points are collinear, 2 or more points are collinear, it means they are on the same line. Kaya nga collinear. So in number 1, let's try to see whether point P with coordinates 3, 3, point Q with coordinates 0, 1, and point R with coordinates 9, 7 are collinear. Now, how can we use distances to determine whether 3 points are collinear? Now, whether in any combination, if we have line segment PQ, line segment QR, and then line segment PR, if we find their distances, and two of them, when you combine, it's the measure of the third side, or the third line segment rather, then that means the 3 points are actually collinear. So let's try. Let's first find the distances rather of line segments PQ, QR, and PR. So burahin muna natin ito. If we're going to check line segment PQ, that distance, walang magkapareho, so we can just use the distance formula directly. That would be the square root of 3 minus 0 squared plus the square root of 3, the square rather, of 3 minus 1. And this would become the square, that's 3 squared plus 2 minus that's 2 squared. That would be 9 plus 4, oops, there you go, 9 plus 4, which is the square root of 13. Yeah, and that's already in its simplest form. Now, we have line segment QR. Again, walang magkaparehas na coordinate, so we can just directly use the distance formula. We can have the square root of 9 minus 0 squared plus 7 minus 1 squared. So therefore, I'm going to have 9 squared plus 6 squared, because that's 7 minus 1, 9 minus 0, and 7 minus 1. So therefore, we're going to have the square root of 81 plus 36. That's equal to the square root of 117, which can be simplified to 3 square root of 13. So mukhang medyo may idea na tayo dito. Now, let's check what's the length of PR, which would be the square root of, I proceeded here kasi wala namang magkapares na coordinate, so diretso distance formula. So therefore, we'll have 9 minus 3 squared plus 7 minus 3 squared. And since 9 minus 3 equals 6, so that's 6 squared plus 7 minus 3, that is 4 squared, which is then equal to 36 plus 16, which is equal to the square root of 52. And this can be simplified to 2 square root of 30. So kung makikita natin, mukha namang kayang-kayang i-add. So if we're going to do add, it's quite logical that we are going to add PQ. Oops, let's use a different color. We're going to add PQ, which has a length of square root of 13, and PR, which has a length of 2 square root of 13, para makuha ito. Because square root of 13 plus 2 square root of 13 is equal to 3 square root of 13. Which goes without saying that PQ, the distance of PQ plus the distance of PR is equal to the distance of QR. What does this mean now? Therefore, this means that P, Q, and R are collinear. Kasi, yung dalawang length from each point, yung dalawang line segment dito adds up to the third one. So therefore, we say that these points are collinear. Further, dahil kung napansin nyo yung P, ang common dun sa dalawang pinag-add, we can also further conclude that P is in between Q and R. Yan, na lang. Kasi, nung pinag-add mo nga, yung Q and R ay PQ plus PR. So, kumbaga, ang itsura ng line segment mo, ito yung QR. Tapos, ito yung PQ, ito yung PR. Yan. So, that's another way of applying the distance formula. Now, pause this video and try to find if you can see whether or not the points in number 2, ito, are collinear or not. So, let's just clear up this one here. Ayan. So, for number 2, we have points S at negative 3, 1, T at 1, 3, and U at 10, 8. Hindi ko na ipapakita yung computation ng distances, but we'll have that the length of line segment ST is at 2 square root of 5. Oops. 2 square root of 5. And then the length of line segment TU is at square root of 106, while the length of line segment SU is equal to square root of 218. Na kung makikita nyo, kahit anong gawin natin ipag-add yan, they will not add up to each other. 2 square root of 5 plus square root of 106 is not equal to square root of 218. Square root of 106 plus square root of 218 will not be equal to 2 square root of 5. So therefore, since they don't add up to each other, we can just simply conclude that these points are not collinear with each other. Now, let's go to number 3. If point M is x4 is equidistant from A and B, we're asked to find the value of x. So, when we say equidistant, obviously, we can get or we can tell that equidistant means it's the same distance. Therefore, if M is equidistant from A and from B, we say that the length of, let's change the color, the length of line segment AM is the same as the length of line segment BM. So we need to find this distance and determine whether they are actually equal or not. Actually, dito mismo, pwede naman nating alamin yon. We can just simply encode or place the formula in this equation since we are asked to find the value of x. So, therefore, we have those coordinates. Ay, try natin yan. So, therefore, we'll have, sulat lang natin dito na m is equal to x, has the coordinates rather, x, 4. Then a is 5, negative 2. Then b is 3, 4. So from here, let's first, if we want to find AM, then hindi naman sila magkaparehas, although we're not sure if A and M are actually the same. We don't know if x is equal to 5. So to be safe, we'll simply use the distance formula. Hence, for AM, sulat lang ulit natin yung line segment AM is equal to line segment PM, the length. So therefore, AM, to compute for that, the distance of that, or the length of that, will have, since we don't know if x is bigger or not, we'll assume that this would be x minus 5. Just to be safe, kasi masanay tayo na x is positive. It will be x minus 5 squared plus, that's 4 minus negative 2 squared. That is the length of AM. While the length of BM will become the square root of, I'll also make it x minus 3 squared, so that is conventional, plus that's, 4 minus 4 squared. Which we can see here actually that 4 and 4 are the same. Hindi lang natin ano yan kanina, but we can see that 4 and 4 here are the same, which means if they have the same ordinate, B and M are horizontal to each other. So we can actually just simply erase this. Although masisimplify yun, we can just simply have this as x minus 3. That's your B and your M. So then we solve for this equation for the value of x. So therefore, we square both sides para matanggal itong radical sign. Therefore, we're going to have x minus 5 squared plus, that's 4 minus 2, that is 6 squared, is equal to x minus 3 squared. Expanding, we're going to have x squared minus 10x plus 25 plus 36 is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 9. So, ilipat mo natin lahat sa left-hand side, then combine like terms. We're going to have x squared minus 10x plus 25 plus 36. Let's just combine it to 61. Let's just change that to 61 para mabilis na. So, we'll have plus 61. So, transposing, we'll have negative x squared plus 6x minus 9 equals 0. Makakancel ang ating x squared. Combining like terms, kaya na-cancel the x squared. So, we'll have negative 10 x plus 6, that will become negative 4x. Then we'll have 61 minus 9, which will be 52. It's equal to 0. So, transpose, we're going to have negative 4x is equal to negative 52. Divide both sides by 4, negative 4 rather. Ayan. X is equal to 13. Ayan. So, therefore, we say that this is actually 13. X is equal to 13, which makes M a point with coordinates 13, 4. Ayan. So, here are some examples. We just went through examples of how we use the distance formula in analyzing and solving geometric problems.